Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Live Wrap-Up. Joe Samaniego along with Kobe Lambeth from Grid Tonight. Light weekend of racing. More going on in a few weeks once the Olympic break is over. But we're still on the air. Thank you so much, Kobe, for being on the air with us. We got a lot to talk about with IMSA especially. And a big thank you to our Patreon investors, calling the show, Mark, Robin, David, Matthew. Robin doubling her amount each and every month. So big thank you to her for investing in the Grid Network. And of course, can't do this without them for investing in us. You can do a one-time investment through Buy Me a Coffee, YouTube Super Chat. We'll thank you on the air. The best way, simplest way to support us, hit the bell icon, subscribe, share with your family and friends that love motorsports. Now, let's get started with IMSA today. What IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship race at Road America from GTP class all the way down to GTD. We saw a lot of contact, a lot of aggressive driving, and a lot of dramatic moments. I just cannot believe this, Kobe. It was just something else. The battle for the overall win was dramatic as the number 10, Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti Acura of Ricky Taylor pitted during the last full course caution, a move that many were starting to wonder what's going on. That allowed the two factory Porsches 963 from Penske Motorsports to earn a 1-2 finish. Championship-wise, some wonder if Team Orders was going to come into play with the number 7 Porsche leading the championship as the number 6 was out front. But Kobe, in the final last lap, number 7 Porsche had some opportunities to get around the sister car and the number 6 without Team Orders. Luckily, nobody on the Porsche Penske Motorsports timing stands had to make the tough call. They just let the race play out naturally. No controversy. The number 6, Matthew Jaminet and Nick Tandy getting the win overall. They cut down the number 7 Porsche Championship lead to 100 points with only 2 endurance races at Indianapolis and Road Atlanta remaining. Overall, how relieved were you, Kobe, that Porsche Penske Motorsports decision to just let them race?
Was obviously the right call ethically and also for everyone's sake. I'm really glad it wasn't, the last Formula One race all over again. Piastri and Lando Norris, and NBC actually showed the last time Porsche, the Penske organization used Team Orders, and it was a competition. It was a few years ago when they were Acura Team Penske, and when one of their cars were out front leading, but the one behind they were in a better position in championships. So the then Penske Acura had to pull over several years ago and let the other one win the race. And they showed a very angry Juan Pablo Montoya coming down the time and said he was not happy. They were moments away from winning that race. I believe it was at Laguna Seca a few years ago, but it just wasn't meant to be there. And when you think about what happened then and what happened today, I'm really glad that Penske decided to just let the race play out and let the drivers handle it amongst themselves. And Matthew Jaminet even said himself at the very end when it was just the 6 and the 7, on that last lap, he said he was kind of hoping that that his teammate in the other car would not try to force the issue, and accidentally take themselves out. That would have been a complete disaster, and then let the WTR Andretti prototype win. But luckily that wasn't the case. And even if Penske did decide to do Team Orders, it was extremely risky given how close the 10 and then the Action Express race and number 31 were. They're at the very end. If they had attempted to try to do a team order and let the number 7 Porsche by, you could have potentially risked a situation where he would let a competitor potentially still the win away, especially since they were in lap traffic. They're really late. But all in all, I think it was a very late for Porsche Penske Motorsport. Getting that 1-2 finish is always good, and they're currently sit 1-2 in the championship. And right now, it's anyone's game. But the 7 and the 6, those two prototypes in the GTP class, they're in the catbird seat right now with only 2 races to go. You got the 6-hour race at Indianapolis and then the 10-hour season finale Moto Petit Le Mans at Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta. Really looking forward to the final 2 races in the 2024 GTP season.
Yeah, overall, Porsche Penske winning 1-2 results come as a bit of surprise because the Wayne Taylor Racing and Andretti Acura, as I mentioned, they seem to have the best car. At number 10, they called Ricky Taylor into the pits from the lead. Everyone else in GTP stayed out, so Taylor had to restart at the back of the class. Yes, he still had the 4 fresh Michelin tires while others were on older tires, and he had to manage those tires. But at the end, that first lap on the final restart, Taylor, he gained 4 positions and seemed he could look like he'd make his way up. But down that final lap, Taylor caught up to the Porsches in heavy GTD traffic. Taylor attempted a dive bomb move on Felipe Nasser on the number 7 Porsche, and the two ended up making contact. That moment basically ended both their chances. Matthew Jaminet, number 6 Porsche, off to the races. The gamble did not pay off for the number 10, but Philippe Albuquerque, wait, Ricky Taylor still finished on the podium overall. Did Wayne Taylor Racing and Reddy make a bad call to bring the number 10 in the pits instead of leaving him out?
Well, I think the obvious answer is yes, because they were out front. They had that clean air, and WTR Andretti, they've been completely dominant this weekend at Road America, especially after qualifying with the front row lockout there. And they were really in control of this race. But it really made me, but when they made this decision, the first thing that went through my mind was the article I read on Sports Car 365, a great piece written by John DeGeese. It was an interview with Philippe Albuquerque, and Albuquerque was saying, that with the number 10 already essentially out of championship contention, that there's really no way that they can go out there and try to, make a magical championship run this late in the game. That the only thing that they really care about doing, just leaving out on the line, going for wins, and like taking those chances. And this is what I really saw. It really seemed like, once we got into this long green flag run at Road America, it was a little difficult to pass out there today. I mean, you had to really make hay on the restarts and early in the run to try to get to where you want to be. Or once things got spread out, there wasn't really much you can do there besides getting into, GT traffic and trying to make moves when the car ahead had to, try to slow down and get around the GT cars. But thinking what the number 10 team did here, I guess they felt, that the tire wear and the Michigans were significant enough where it was going to make, a huge difference there. And I think they were partially correct, because we saw Ricky Taylor, he was flat out flying. Everybody else chose track position, but the number 10 they decided was best to put on those tires. And I thought Ricky was going to get there, to be honest with you, Joe. I mean, he was really coming. He was really fast. If he hadn't made that mistake on the dive bomb on Nasser, and if they had one more lap to go, I think we'd be talking about the number 10 sitting in victory lane right now at Road America. It was very unfortunate the way that it worked out, but given where they're on the championship this season, not really the best season as a whole, I don't really blame them for trying something different. It's easy to say, yeah, they could have stayed out, and chanced it there. They would have had that clean air and all of that and had to defend the cars behind. But they really felt like they had an advantage by getting on those 4 fresh Michelins, and it almost played out in their favor, but unfortunately just came up short today.
Yeah, Kobe, like you said, if they had a few more laps, we'd be talking about, I feel pretty good. We'd be talking about Dib. What an effort. What a drive. Just one of those deals where you pit in. If it works, everybody's going to be saying, brilliant. If it doesn't work, too easy for everyone to say, yeah, that was not the right call. But what an effort. And that was all happening. Let's talk about LMP2. Ben Hanley, Ben Keaton got their class win for United Autosports. A great recovery for them after Keaton crashed the car in practice. The surprise in GTD Pro, GTD Regular, Conquest Racing decided to enter an extra Ferrari 296 GT3 in the Pro class for Road America. The number 35 Ferrari, Daniel Sierra and Giacomo Altaway scored their surprise victory over the GTD Pro Class regulars, and the number 96 Turner Motorsports BMW of Robbie Foley and Patrick Gallagher took GTD class honors after the number 12 Faster Sullivan Lexus of Parker Thompson's pitted in the closing minutes. And the action we saw, the contact, the tire smoke, this looked like full stock car racing with just banging, just missing a short track. Instead, we're at Road America, one of the longest, biggest road courses in the United States. And we saw the drivers trading paint like nothing else. Was the level of aggression today in GT acceptable, or do you think it went too far, especially for sports car standards?
I know just a couple of weeks ago, Joe, IMSA announced that the Mazda MX-5 Cup cars were going to be running this special exhibition race at the Martinsville Speedway. I felt like I watched that race today, Road America and the GT cars. Maybe we should send GTD Pro and GTD down to Martinsville Speedway to join them based on what we saw today. But yeah, you're right. It felt like your Friday night short track race with stock cars. There was a lot of slam and bang, or as Calvin Fish like to say, tons of argy bargy all the way around. I was just very surprised to see how aggressive, the driving was. But I will say I'm hoping that the ACO race officials who officiate the races in the World Endurance Championship were not watching this race, because they would have been ripping their hair out watching what was going on here, because this type of aggression, you would not see this in a World Endurance Championship race because of the racing standards that they have over there. And for all you sports car fans out there, you already know in IMSA competition, they let you get away with a lot of things that you would not be able to get away with in the World Endurance Championship. If you go up in the inside and, like, say, knock someone off course into the grass, but nothing really happens to them, they might not call you for avoidable contact here in IMSA. But if you do that in the World Endurance Championship, they're absolutely going to call that. And if today's race was sanctioned by the ACO, I think a whole bunch of GTD pro and GTD drivers would have received a lot of penalties for avoidable contact. That's just how crazy it got out there today. But yeah, it was really crazy to see all of the aggression. I think it went just a tiny bit too far today, especially when you saw the drivers who were making lots of contact, saw parts of the cars flying off. One of the Porsches had a very bad tire rub. It was just got really wild. But thankfully, right when that was happening, we had a full course caution come out for a car stopped on track. Yeah, so after that, it kind of calmed down a little bit, but we still saw a lot of aggressive action throughout the day. But all in all, I thought it was quite an intense race in the GT classes, but I think it went just a tad bit too far today. But I'm sure IMSA Race Control, maybe they'll have some conversation with the drivers. They'll be like, yeah, we want to see good, hard racing, but we also don't want to see you guys, slamming into each other every single lap, and, just a whole bunch of craziness that we saw out there for a short time today.
Yeah, the craziness, it'll leave people talking. It's great, but I think, like you said, IMSA, the race officials, okay, let's scale back a little bit. We don't want this to become just a regular thing. We got a lot of folks around the world watching us. Let's put on a good race and let's not get it out of hand. But overall, what a day at Road America. And of course, plenty of IMSA racing later on in the year. And of course, Wednesday on Grid Tonight, we're going to have to update an Endurance Performance Index following the IMSA races and other races. Now, of course, IMSA, part of the Grid Endurance Performance Index, MotoGP, they're part of the grid ranking. Earlier today, we had Joshua Birch as we recapped the MotoGP race. We now welcome Joshua Birch from Joshua Birch Motorsports. Josh, the British Grand Prix throwback weekend celebrating 75 years of racing, and Enea Bastianini will be regarded as the only winner this weekend. He swept the sprint race and the British Grand Prix earlier today. He got around Pecco Bagnaia for second place. He then was right behind Jorge Martin. Martin went wide with 2 laps to go. He took the lead. Do you think Bastianini was unstoppable this weekend, or do you think he would have finished second had Martin not gone wide?
I think definitely the sprint race yesterday, Bastianini was unstoppable. He had some sort of sixth knowledge about the circuit. He was really on the inside. He was going really fast, and it was really impressive. And then I think today in the Grand Prix, to begin with, he didn't get the best getaway. But then in the second phase of the Grand Prix, when the tyres started to go off for everybody else, he kept it calm, kept it on the circuit, and then it just continued to get better. Martin making that small mistake came on as Bastianini was putting pressure on him. So I definitely think Bastianini would have got ahead, but I think it would have been a last lap move, not with 4 to go like we saw. And Martin just, again, cracked under the pressure. But it's closed up the championship dramatically, and I think Bastianini's done exactly what Ducati needed him to do. And that's whenever Bagnaia fails to deliver and fails to pick up the points, you see Bastianini come up. And it's a situation we see in Formula One. We always say, oh, well, when Verstappen's not winning, Perez should be. In MotoGP, when Bagnaia's not winning, you get Bastianini winning. And I think it's quite telling as well that today, the 2 riders who have been let go by Ducati, of Bastianini and Martin, have finished 1-2 ahead of Bagnaia and Marquez, the 2 that are going to be on the factory bags next year. So I think this has been a solid weekend for Enea Bastianini, and he gets his first ever sprint win and his 6th Grand Prix victory as well, as before he goes off to Gas Tech 3 next year.
For Bastianini, this has to feel really good. Just the confidence overall. That sprint race, he just looks so unstoppable, and it just always amazed me. He always seems to be so good when it comes to taking care of those tires, being around. Last year, dreadful year, the injury and everything was a big setback. This year is starting to look better, and of course, this has allowed him to close the gap on Martin and Pecco Bagnaia. Pecco Bagnaia losing the points lead. Now, of course, one of the big things that crashed yesterday really hurt him. Overall, Martin, he looked like he was going to really capitalize, went wide, lost the win. Between Bagnaia and Martin, who do you think is the better rider right now?
It's hard to tell, isn't it? Bagnaia's won the last 4 Grand Prix. Well, he had won. He's won the last 4 Grand Prix minus today. And then Martin's won the sprint races. And then they sort of both have the same issue where they're falling together at the wrong time. So you've got this situation where you get Bagnaia being so dominant, then makes mistakes. Then Martin's dominant, but then makes mistakes. So they're sort of at the front, but nobody else can catch up to them just yet. I would still put my money on that. They're sort of both the best. Martin's the best on the Saturday, and Bagnaia is the best on the Sunday. That's how I would put it. And I think it's been that way for a couple of months now, since the Spanish Grand Prix, where Bagnaia first fell down in the sprint race. He got into a habit of losing out on that, and it sort of cropped up again. So to be fair, I think the best riders at the moment that are coming back up, the two Aprilias, Aleix Espargaro, Maverick Vinales, they're looking really competitive and really strong at the front. I also think that giving time, Marc Marquez could be right back in there as well, but he's on a year-old bike, so he's really pushing his extra to keep up with everybody else at the front who are on GP24s. Don't forget the first 3 places today were riders who were on 2024 machinery, and Mark finished 4th on a 23 bikes. That's impressive from him. I think the best ride at the moment would definitely be Bastianini, because he's been so competitive over the last couple of weekends. Definitely think overall, though, Saturday you get Martin, Sunday you get Bagnaia. That's I think the 2 I would say for.
I think you took a lot of my points. Saturday, Martin, Sunday, Bagnaia. But that was the thing I was thinking about with this question. I feel like neither of them are exactly that much better rider. The one that we're saying you must go through him to get the championship. Martin, Germany, that's going to haunt him. He could have had that race won. Pecco Bagnaia, I said yesterday, it seems like when we start talking about he's unstoppable, he starts falling. I just really feel like these 2 riders, it's going to be who makes the less mistakes at the end, because I just kept thinking that with Martin, it's like, okay, he looks unbeatable today. Don't make a mistake. He should have to win. And then he goes wide, and that just gave Bastianini, and Bastianini is looking really good, climbing up there. Now I have to ask you this. You brought this up earlier. We know Martin now leads by 3 points over Pecco Bagnaia. You didn't have Enea Bastianini. You have Marc Marquez, who almost got around Pecco Bagnaia in the race. How complicated is this going to be for Ducati when you have your 2 current factory riders, your incoming factory rider, and a rider on a Ducati, but not factory supplied, who is leaving for Aprilia? How complicated will this be if we see Bastianini pushing the issue and getting better results?
Definitely it got complicated the day after the Italian Grand Prix when it was announced that Martin had signed for Aprilia and that Marc Marquez would be on the factory team, despite the fact the original plan was that Martin would go to the factory squad. So it got complicated then. Now we're just sort of all hanging around to see how it all explodes. Definitely the one thing that Ducati do want is for Bagnaia to win the championship. They don't want Martin to win it. They don't want Bastianini to win it. He's 49 points back now as well. We've got 10 races to go out of the 20, so we've got another 10 to go. We've got 2 races coming up at Misano as well, as we've discussed on the Grid Tonight shows as well. The best thing about the circuits that we're flying to now as we get into the second half of the season is the front end is going to be critical at these races. Now, the first half of the season, we've been talking about, it's always the front end that dips away. It's the front end that gets stuck for Bagnaia and for Martin. They always drop the front. Bastianini is incredibly good at keeping that front end up. So we're going to be seeing a lot of tracks going his way. 49 points is 2 race wins, but 49 points is also yet 37 for acing the sprint and the Grand Prix. It's exactly what he's done this weekend. We're going to Mazzano. He goes well there. We're going back to Aragon, the track he got his first ever race win at when he battled with Marc Marquez a couple of years ago. So these are circuits that he knows. So I think we could be in for an interesting fight, because I think we're going to have Martin and Bagnaia drop out of the sort of up runs, and we're going to have coming back into the swing of things, Enea Bastianini. So we're in for a fantastic end of the year. I'm really looking forward to it. I think one thing Silverstone's done is shown us exactly how dramatic and unpredictable this championship is actually going to be across all 3 classes as well, because we've had a great day.
Great day indeed. I mean, this is going to be something else, because I'm really curious, because after it was announced Martin was leaving, I thought, okay, there's support from Ducati, and he knows that's stopping. Then we saw what happened in Germany, and I just thought, okay, he's not. Then Pecco wins it in the sprint. Third, I'm just thinking it feels like it's going to be wide open, and Bastianini would love to just make life a bit more difficult for the Ducati team if he's proven, I'm riding better, I could get this championship. It's your decision not to keep me around. Marc Marquez, that sprint race going out, that was a big mistake overall. I have to say, that sprint race yesterday, in my opinion, I felt stood out the most this weekend, because for the 10 laps, edge of your seat, we saw riders pushing it. Of course, the big shock, Pecco Bagnaia crashing out after setting the fastest lap. Today, the 2 riders up front, they did change position, but we also had single file racing. It was just that second half of the race when tire wear became an issue where we started seeing more changes. Did you feel the sprint race and Bastianini's pass for the win sort of saved the weekend in terms of how we're going to remember the 75th celebration weekend?
Definitely from a MotoGP point of view, yes. The sprint was so good, it gave me a migraine. So that's great. I've been fighting it throughout today as well. That's why I wasn't on the show yesterday, because I left the sprint race commentary box and I could not see physically the last 4 laps of that sprint race. I could not see the numbers on the screen. I was literally having to focus so hard to see the TV pictures. And today as well, Megan's been in the commentary box for Moto 3 and Moto 2. She never does those, because I was unsure how I was going to be. And I'm still not 100%, but I'm a lot better than I was. It just sort of feels like your brain's numb at the front. So it was that good that it gave me a migraine. I think as well, from a MotoGP point of view, definitely Bagnaia's move for the win. Definitely the sprint race is going to be what we remember coming into this weekend as well. The liveries were great, but they should have been run all weekend long. Because me and Megan on the first lap of the race were really having to go like, who made the bad start? It looks like it's Alex Marquez. Oh no, it's actually Brad Binder on a white KTM. That's 90% of the field were white. So it was really hard to sort of pick those out last second. If they want to do that again, the special liveries, it should have been all weekend long. From an overall point of view, I think we'll remember this weekend as a great Moto 3 race, an okay MotoGP race, and a dominant one for Bastianini. But I think the Moto 2 race, which is the last one of the day, will be remembered, certainly by my point of view, and certainly by the paddock, for the first British winner of the British Grand Prix in over 40 years. Jake Dixon won in Moto 2 in superb fashion. Took the lead on the last lap, and I was jumping up and down in the commentary box screaming, gave myself even more a headache. But definitely, I think that's the thing. It's not MotoGP that people are going to go away remembering it by. It's the fact that a British rider has won the British Grand Prix in Moto 2. And it's a world championship, so it counts. And that was, I think, the highlight of the weekend, not anything from MotoGP. And that's telling at the moment with the fact that the Ducatis were up there, because the Aprilias, who looked good on the Friday, didn't bother really turning up in the race at all. And in Moto Moto 2, we had Ayaguras down on pole. He jumped down to 14th in the end as well, didn't he? He only got 2 points. That's allowed Sergio Garcia to jump ahead by about 24. So a lot has changed in the championships, and it's sort of all swung up in going into Austria in a couple of weeks with like, okay, well, what's going to happen now then? Because you're just going to have a to and throw at the front with people catching up across all classes. So yeah, this weekend's been sort of like a curveball thrown at us all after the summer break.
And of course, for me, this weekend, I'll remember the throwback scenes. I thought that was really fun. Just good to see another motorsport series. My personal favorite was the Yamaha ones, but
yeah, me too.
As you said, from overhead, there were so many schemes that have white. I was like, I thought the Trackhouse bikes were the ones that were having issues, and no, they did later on the first lap when they both crashed out together, which is not a good way for Justice Marks, some rig to come towards the end. But overall, I thought it was an okay weekend. You're going to have some races where, okay, it's a little bit more taking care of the tires, follow, save. But in typical MotoGP fashion, that second half where the tires are wearing away, you could expect somebody's going to do great. And Bastianini did that.
Absolutely. I think the tires as well this weekend played a factor because I was speaking actually before the Moto 2 race as well. Some of the riders on the grid were saying how grippy the circuit was after laying all the MotoGP rubber down, because MotoGP big fatter tires compared to that we run in the junior classes. So Moto 3 sort of goes on and gives like an ice rink feel. They're just very single small tires. MotoGP come down and put the big fat rubber down. Moto 2 usually go out before MotoGP, so for them to go out last, they got some fantastic extra grip. And of course, Moto 3, Moto 2 use Pirelli, MotoGP use Michelin. So the Michelins are giving down just extra stickiness on their tires. Really, I thought improved the weekend action. And the billiard smooth Silverstone now is a perfect venue. If only the fans could be better treated, because it's now been announced that the British Grand Prix next year is going to take place on the 23rd, 24th, and 25th of May. You and me both know, Joe, that that's the same weekend as the Monaco Grand Prix and the Indianapolis 500. So it's going to absolutely kill viewership in the UK on TV standards. It's also on the same day as a British Touring Car event. So British Touring Car is way more popular at the moment. And they've put it back to back. So that's not the best thing to happen, to have that clashing on the same weekend. And I think MotoGP need to really understand the British fans in Silverstone a bit more. Hopefully Liberty might have a better handle on that going in when they decide the calendar for the 2026 season, because Dorna still control it now and they are deciding how the calendar looks. That's why we haven't got a provisional yet, because they're still fighting over it while Liberty starts to buy the full funds going into it. Oh, and also a little thing for you, Joe. Everybody I spoke to at WCR and the World Superbikes as well, they all can't stand Dorna and can't wait for Liberty to come in because they'll make their lives easier. So, yeah, Dorna very much not in favour of anybody at the moment.
Going to be interesting to see as the changes develop with MotoGP. I even heard rumors there might be a new MotoGP logo coming with the Liberty. We saw what he did with F1, elevating it for the top-level motorcycle racing. It'll be really interesting to see what's going to happen. Of course, we'll be following that right here on the Grid Network. Let's switch over to Kobe for the Grid Ranking.
Thanks, Joe, and thank you, Josh, as well, for providing your awesome MotoGP insight. And with that said, in week 18 of the Grid Ranking, Pecco Bagnaia's lead dropped as he finished third and did not finish the sprint race. Jorge Martin and Enea Bastianini gained points today, and Bastianini moved up to seventh from ninth. And still, Sebastian Ogier is in the Grid Ranking after winning Rally Finland. Kalle Rovanperä looked set to win his home rally, but rolled over earlier today, giving the win to Ogier. Joe, how shocking was his win for Ogier? I mean, he's a favorite to win anytime he's entered in these WRC events.
That's the thing. To me, it's almost funny. It's everyone's shocked that Ogier won. Now, of course, if folks are not following World Rally Championship, just mainly follow through us, they know, well, Sebastian Ogier is always your guy's pick for pick a winner often. He's always a favorite to win. Let me tell you, Kali home country Rally Finland, just looked primed to get the win. On Saturday, swept 5 stages. He has just been flawless all weekend. But this is what World Rally Championship is about. The track is changing, things happen, and then at the end, as he coming around a left-hander, flat out, a rock got to enter the racing line. I don't know if the other teams had managed to see it in advance and just went a little high or what. Colorado Parent hit that rock. That just launched his car up. He started rolling and he was done for the day. He was so dejected. Has such a huge lead over Sebastian Ogier. And Ogier inherits the win on the final day of Rally Finland. It was just shocking for me, Kobe. Just the thought that it looked like he was going to get this win. It would have meant a whole lot, especially since he's not running full time. He had one extra race already because of when Ogier was injured, so he was a late substitution, got that race win. Ogier, now it's sort of worked out for him. He got a race win that a lot of folks did not anticipate he was going to get this morning. But in Ogier fashion, he has the win, and I'm just floored. What a way to end Rally Finland.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess the racing gods just said it just wasn't in the cards for Kalle Rovanperä to win his home rally. And it just goes to show you that it's not over until it's over. I'm sure everyone thought, that this rally was in the bag for Kalle Rovanperä, that it was just going to be another victory for him, but not so fast. It was just really crazy to see how that rocked, he ran over and just sent him tumbling. I'm sure Rovanperä was like, what do I have to do? Like, to come so close to winning your home rally, which I'm sure, would have been a very, very special win for him. It's thinking that you had it in the bag and then you don't have to be a gut punch down. But for Sebastian Ogier, he was in the right place at the right time, end up capitalizing and getting the job done. So definitely a great win for him. I know it's really surprising to say that we're shocked to see Ogier win, considering how good he is, and I have a feeling if he was running full time right now, he'd probably be up there leading the championship right now. It's been really impressive to see what he's doing on a part-time schedule. And now taking a look at the rest of our grid ranking, once again, mostly unchanged. Only MotoGP and World Rally Championship were in action this weekend, and our Summer Olympic break is still in effect, but we'll have more racing soon. And now I'm going to turn over to Joe for our Grid One Shining Moment of the Week.
Yeah, we encourage everyone in the chat room, comment with what's your one shining moment from this race weekend. Kobe, I know we just had IMSA World Rally MotoGP, so not exactly the biggest selection, but from this weekend, what was your one shining moment?
To be honest, Joe, I know we didn't have much to choose from, but I'm actually going to pull a few one shining moments, a few smaller one shining moments, especially since we have our Grid Encore show on holiday, these last couple of weeks. I'm going to say my ultimate one shining moment is a finish of that Arca Menard series race last night at Elko Speedway in Minnesota. If you haven't watched it, I encourage you all to go watch it right now, because that was so impressive to see that 3-wide finish between William Sawalas, LeVar Scott, and Chris Wright there at the end. Just, mere inches decided the winner of that, which was William Sawalas. Just thought it was a very exciting ending to that ARCA race. And then second shining moment is obviously going to go to today's IMSA race, especially the GTP battle at the end. Thought both Penske Porsches and then Ricky Taylor and the Wayne Taylor Racing Andretti Acura, thought they did a really great job putting on a wonderful show for all of us. At the very end of that, thought they were super impressive. And next shining moment goes to Ross Chastain, who made his IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge debut at Road America. Thought he ran a really great race in the Aston Martin GT4 car, with sponsorship from Skip Barber Racing School. Thought he did a solid job in his debut weekend. And the last one shining moment I want to mention is the exact same one that you put in the chat room, Adam, about Daniel Suarez going down to Brazil to win one of the NASCAR Brazil sprint race events there at Interlagos this weekend. I know in the first race, Daniel Suarez was the winner, but they decided to give him a 5-second time penalty for avoidable contact. Not really sure why he received a penalty there, but the rules are different here in Brazil versus the United States. But he ended up getting the win under the lights later on Saturday, and then he had a strong run early this afternoon in Interlagos. Thought Daniel Suarez, did a good job there in Brazil, and his off weekend is very impressive. Suarez is won in the Cup Series this year, also the Mexico series at the Clash, and now in the NASCAR Brazil series at Interlagos. And since the Cup Series is going to be racing till, every weekend till the end of the season now, not sure if he can complete all the same things in the same year by winning a Canada Series race and a Euro Series race as well. If it were able to fit in his schedule and he do that, it'd be extremely impressive. But nonetheless, still a solid job winning a Cup, Mexico, and Brazil race in the same year.
Suarez all over the place. That's an awesome one shine moment. For me, my shining moment comes from MotoGP, and it's going to the beast, Enea Bastianini. When he was with Gresini Racing, getting the surprise wins, everybody thought he has a bright future. And it looked like it was going to go up to that next step when he went to the factory Ducati team. But then last year, the Ducati team, an injury, he was sidelined, just not having a good season at all. This year, he comes back, clearly the number 2 rider behind Pecco Bagnaia, who's now a defending champion again. I think a lot of folks just thought, okay, he's going to be quiet, not exactly going to be anywhere. Well, he's proven those people wrong, especially since we know his future is not with the Ducati team, being replaced by Marc Marquez. He went out there in that sprint race, got around his teammate. His teammate, of course, crashed out. Then he was all over the back of Jorge Martin. When Jorge Martin went wide, lost the race, he was there to pick it up with 2 laps to go, get the win. Today in the Grand Prix, the start, okay, he was still in the top 5 breakaway. That's good. Took care of his tires. This is the Enea Bastianini we've been seeing in the past with Gresini Racing, taking care of those tires, having something left at the end. Because at the end, he made it clear he was going to come get the win. He did that. What an effort. I just think Enea Bastianini has to be on a high right now, getting 2 race wins. His first sprint race, first podium on the sprint. Check. You go out there, you get this race, which a lot of fans are going to be talking about this race because of the throwback scheme. They're going to be looking at it. It's Silverstone. It's going to be remembered for a long time, and he has to feel pretty good. He's the only rider to win that weekend because he swept the weekend. So Enea Bastianini is my one shining moment. And of course, we encourage everyone invest in the Grid Network. Calling the show, Mark Robin, David Matthews, thank you for investing in your Grid Network. And of course, you could do a one-time investment through Buy Me a Coffee, YouTube Super Chat, and hit the bell icon, subscribe to us so you don't miss any of our programs right here on the Grid Network. I know, as you mentioned, Kobe, Grid Encore, they're enjoying their break. They'll be back the following week. But this week, we got Grid Tonight. And then from Grid Tonight, we'll do this all over again. Grid Live Pre-Race. Do not miss this Sunday. We cannot wait for NASCAR to go back to racing. And we're back under green conditions right here at the Grid Network. For Kobe Lambeth, I'm Joe Samaniego. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.